BRONXNET. Your voice, your views, your vision.
Pursuant to Chapter 4, Section 85 and Chapter 69, Section 2706 of the New York City Charter, a joint meeting of the Bronx Borough Service Cabinet and the Bronx Borough Board will take place on Thursday, February 18, 2010 at 9:15 a.m. The meeting will take place at 851 Grand Concourse in the first floor rotunda. We have 3 items on our agenda today. The last item will require a vote, so please do not leave. The first item we will be dealing with is the 2010 Census Campaign, and I'm delighted to introduce, if you don't already know her, Rafaela Santos, the Senior Partnership Specialist for the New York Regional Census Center. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and thank you. I don't like mics, and I'm also kind of hidden back here. Can I pull this out? Oh, good, I like it. Good morning, everyone. I know everyone here knows about the census. I've been around to many of your sites. I've attended events. But I think that my being here today is probably even more important because I heard you guys are talking about what today? No. What are you guys talking about today? Money, right? And you're proposing or you're asking for money, but guess what? If we don't get an accurate count, all that money you're asking for, you're not going to get. So the reason why I'm here is to encourage the community boards to make sure you talk to the organizations, the churches, and any other entity you have in your community about the census. Now, we've devised a couple of ways on how to do that. I spoke to Tracy last week, and she had some wonderful ideas. What we're looking to do is send out an email blast to your email list that says, March 15, 2010, the census is coming. You can add a signature line. Don't forget to fill it out and mail it back. Another signature line where you can put, when it gets closer, April 1st is Census Day. Very important. The other thing I want to ask you to do is, if you have an event, we've attended some wonderful events with John Roberts, along with other community boards, we want you to understand that we will be there. We'll take giveaways, whatever you need for your community, we'll come out. We'll sit there with you in the rain, John knows, and really talk to people. We have a slew of people that have just been hired in the Bronx, and we want you to understand that it's important that we get your help. Our team has grown by, I think it's 60 people we have on our team in the Bronx, but there's 1.5 million people, right, in the Bronx at last count. So we're asking for your help because 60, if you do the math, that's about 200,000, 250,000 per person on my team, give or take a little less. That's too much for us to do. That's why we're asking to partner with everyone. The other thing we want you to do is, if you need posters, if you need giveaways, John just asked me for some materials. I have some in my car. We have posters that say Bronx Count. Layla, can you bring me one of those? We have posters. We have African-American ones. We have Albanian ones. We have Korean. We have all kinds of posters that we can bring to your office and drop them off so you can give them to community organizations. This was done especially for the Bronx. And it gives you an idea. It has a sample of the form. In addition to some landmarks, I just went to St. Barnabas Hospital, and they were like, you put us on your poster? And I was like, yeah. They love the poster. And this is so Bronxites can know that it is important that we are counted. In 2000, does anybody know what was the percentage in 2000 of the people who mailed back their response rate? Does anybody know? It was a whopping 56%. That's a great number, right? Think about it. That affected us for 10 years. And now, with $400 billion, it went up from $300 billion. $400 billion, can you imagine if we get only, 60%? How much money do we stand to lose? A lot of money. So what we're asking you, think about your budgets, but also think about your community, because the money you're asking for in order to run the boards, in order to help the community, is really contingent upon the population count. And how much money you're going to get is going to depend on the population count. So once again, partner with us. I left my card. I'm in charge of all of the Bronx, as well as Washington Heights and Inwood. That's besides the point. And I want you to call me, because if you say, oh, my borough or my area, Mott Haven being the lowest count in the nation, that shouldn't happen. People should understand that the census is important, and the community board has a vested interest in getting that word out. It's a community board, right? Community, we have to ensure that our community is accounted. I thank you. Does anybody have a question? Any questions? No?
Yes, Cleveland?
Number one, I wanted to first commend the Census Bureau. We had an event, and we had about 1,200 people at a luncheon, and we had some speakers from the Census Bureau.
Thank you.
In terms of your recruitment, what is the deadline to still have people recruited to work with the Census Bureau?
His question is about recruitment. We're actively recruiting now. Actually, thank you for that, because we are looking for not only recruitment sites, but also training sites. I was lucky enough that I was able to get 45 individuals added on to the Bronx team, and I have another 5 more coming on board. I've been getting calls. I'm also in charge of the local census offices. I'm the liaison. So if you say, I want to be a training site, or you send out an email, contact the census so you can be a training site, then we can do this. We want people from the Bronx to be hired. We want our neighbors to go out to the community, knock on doors, and for the people to be comfortable. The other thing, what we're working on now is be-counted sites and QAC sites. A be-counted site is where they leave the form in the office in the front, where you can pick up the form if you didn't get it. We need to identify those by tomorrow, unfortunately. The be-counted sites are sites that they leave the form in your office so that a person who didn't get it or inadvertently threw it away can pick it up at your office. Questionnaire assistance centers are the ones where people get assistance with the form. We're hiring people from the Bronx to man these sites. They get 15 hours per week, and they'll sit at a location and help a person. One of the important things about that is it'll be language specific. So if you have someone who speaks Bengali in the Parkchester section of the Bronx, we're going to have someone who speaks Bengali. If you have someone who speaks Urdu, Spanish, French, we're going to have someone manning that site according to the linguistic needs. So, but we can't do this unless you tell us. We can't identify sites unless you tell us. So my email is there. If you can send me a quick email, send a quick email to everyone on your list and say, look, they're looking for be-counted sites and QAC sites, so we can identify them as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Be sure to make sure that people are filling out the census forms. Our next item is the New York City Annual Lien Sale. We have a presentation by Laura Kilpatrick of the New York City Department of Finance. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Laura Kilpatrick. I'm from the Department of Finance. Better? We've come around again to the annual lien sale. The way the lien sale works is properties that are in tax class 1, which are 1, 2, and 3 family homes that owe over $1,000 in back taxes for 3 years, become pool candidates for the lien sale. Commercial property that owes over $1,000 in back taxes for 1 year are also lien candidates for the pool candidates for the lien sale. The lien, we started working with these pool candidates beginning February 2nd, and once a month we send out notification to the people on our list, reminding them that they are in this situation and to contact finance, and we will do everything we can to help them come off of the lien sale. This year we have about 25,000 properties that we've identified as being in this situation from all 5 boroughs. The biggest amount comes from Brooklyn. That's about 10,000 properties. One of the smallest amount, fortunately, is in the Bronx. It's about 4,000 properties. I gave the complete list to Marisol, and the list is also available on our website, www.nyc.gov. I handed out these packets. I ran short, and I'll get the 5 of you copies before the meeting is over, with everything you need to know about how you can help your constituents that find themselves in this situation. We have an outreach coming up in the Bronx, which is on March 4th here at 3030 3rd Avenue, where we'll speak one-on-one with the taxpayer. They may have just owe property taxes. They may owe water and sewer charges. We'll see what their situation is. We'll help them set up a payment plan. If you know of anyone in your community that finds themselves in this situation, please encourage them to call us, because once it's sold to the lien server, they charge an awful lot of interest and fees. We don't. We are reaching out by phone and by mail. In February and March, we send a letter every month. In April and up to May 7th, we send a letter every week trying to get them to contact us. Fortunately, a lot do. Last year, the 25,000 was whittled down to only 4,000 liens that we actually sold to the lien server. In the Bronx, the number was a little higher last year. We had originally identified about 5,000 properties, and by the end of the term of the lien period, we were down to about 200 that were sold. So we work really hard. We try to reach them by phone and by mail. We look in old applications trying to find their phone numbers to contact them. If we identify them as being elderly or disabled or in the military, they're pulled from the list. We work with them individually to help them set up a payment plan, and they're taken off the list. We do everything we can to help. We're really nice. We'll take the smallest amount of down payment possible and help them to get back on track, try to find exemptions that they might be eligible for that they never applied for. But once it is sold to the lien server, and the city only has one organization which collects on the lien, and that's Expand. They then try, like we do, to work with them, but if they default on whatever plan that Expand sets up for them, unfortunately the property goes into foreclosure and can be auctioned. So when we talk about selling the lien, we're not selling the deed to the property. We're only selling the back taxes that they never paid, and we sell it to Expand, and then they pay us, they pay the city, and we go forward with current taxes, and they have to work with Expand then to get themselves back on track. It's better to work with the city. We're happy to do practically anything, and we do. Coming from 25,000 properties to 4 is a big job. That's pretty much our focus right now. So there's phone numbers in here. The list is, our website's really good, has every property listed, and every 2 weeks the list becomes smaller when we work with the homeowners and get them off of the list. They set up a payment plan, or we find that they really weren't eligible because of their status as being elderly or disabled. And so you can check the list every 2 weeks and see the numbers decreasing. But we also will be happy to come out if you have a community room that you know a lot of people will want to come and hear us. We can come out individually and sit down with taxpayers and look at their situation. My name is Laurie, and my number is 212-232-1773, and 212-232-1773. And I'm Laurie.
Camilla Price has some questions to ask.
Good morning. Dealing with these lien sales in the past, I have incurred several problems dealing with constituent issues and hearing complaints from constituents. Now, my question to you is, when you sell these liens, and the person you sell the liens to, and do you advise them that they are not acquiring the property itself, but just acquiring the rights to collect the money for the city? Because I have had two instances where, and one was Concourse Village, where the person acquired the lien years ago. The lien passed hands over and over, and they thought they had the right to the property and started doing work on the property instead of collecting the money for the lien. Can you repeat that, because I can't hear you?
I'm sorry. The lien holder, which is Expand and was Expand last year also, only is dealing with the back taxes. If in working with the constituent, the taxpayer, they don't get anywhere, and they work with them for 6 months trying to contact them, trying to set up payment plan, looking at back ownership, trying to get in touch with the person who owns the property. After 6 months of trying to work with them, if they will not appear, if they will not be if they're not interested, or if they default on the payment plan that's set up by Expand, then the city allows them to take ownership of the deed and proceed with foreclosure. But it takes, from when we start in February till it's sold to Expand in May, it takes a whole year of constantly trying to work with the owner to get this resolved. It's not a quick process, and there's a lot of effort involved. I'm not sure what happened with the two properties that you're referring to, but maybe later you can give me the addresses and I'll check it for you. But that's generally not the way it works.
Well, I know that's not the way it works, but that's how it actually happened.
I'll take a look
This
at
is
it.
not just one case, it's several cases that I have seen this happen, so I don't know what could be put in place.
After it was sold to the lien server?
It was sold, the lien was sold, and the person who acquired the lien then assumed they had rights to the property and started doing whatever to the property. One tried to even get a mortgage on the property, which was amazing. And I'm trying to understand why would the city trust or put faith into someone to collect money for them on a piece of property that's not theirs?
I wouldn't know the details of the cases you're talking about. Generally, we have had very good results with Expand, and this is new to me. So I'll get the information from you, and I'll look into it for you and let you know exactly what did happen. Sometimes what we hear and what happens are two different things, so we have to look into it. And if it does show that did happen, our commissioner is going to want to know, and we're going to rethink who we sell our liens to.
Yeah, I will give you the information, block and lots, and then we could work it from there.
All right, so when we're done today, I'll come to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jeff?
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy. I just had a quick question. And correct me if I'm wrong, when someone gets into a payment plan with the city about their lien, a lien is still placed on their house, even if they're in a payment plan. Is that correct?
The lien stays until the debt is satisfied.
And when because I know in our office we've received a few issues like this, where people were under the impression that a lien would not be placed on their house because they were in like a monthly or bi-monthly payment plan with the city, and then come to find out their mortgage went up 18%, or whatever the case may be. So when someone enters in a payment plan, is that explained to them that while we won't collect interest from you on the outstanding debt, there's still a possibility that a financial institution may purchase the lien.
That's not the way it works. Once the candidate that we've identified enters into a payment plan with the city, they're pulled from the pool. They're no longer a lien candidate anymore, a tax lien candidate any longer. Their lien is, in a sense, canceled with the city because the payment plan is in effect. Only when they default on that payment plan do they go back into having the lien issued against their property.
So, but is the financial institution that holds the mortgage notified that this person has an outstanding lien debt?
Absolutely.
And that's done even when there's a payment plan being worked out?
We contact them and let them know what the terms of the payment plan are, because in some cases they may be the one financing those terms. If the holder of the mortgage, if the mortgagee isn't paying their mortgage company, then we have to get in touch with that bank and let them know the situation. One way or the other, the city has to recoup their taxes. Taxes are paid for everything that happens in the city, so we have to let all parties interested in that property know the situation. It's often very helpful to the taxpayer to know that their mortgage company is on board and is working with us to get this lien taken care of.
Well, I think that maybe that should be looked at again, because I know in our office we've received a few cases where people were under the impression that everything was fine, and then boom, they're hit with an 18% hike in their mortgage, and they're like, wait a second, I just made an agreement with the city to pay off my lien, and then my mortgage is going up so much I can't even afford to continue making payments to the lien. So maybe in a proactive way, and maybe we could do something about it legislatively, but in a proactive way, instead of reaching out to the institution first, try to reach out to the homeowner, and then within 3 months or 6 months, then if you have no success with reaching out to the homeowner, then contact their financial institution.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's the process that we do go through. It's only when the taxpayer or the
Please
homeowner
talk into the mic. We're losing your voice.
It's only when the homeowner or the taxpayer doesn't contact finance or doesn't make any attempt to work with us, then we look for other interested parties or other parties connected with that property to try to receive our payment. We don't go right to the mortgage company. We stay with the taxpayer immediately. But if they're not contacting us, if we've gone 2 months already and we're getting close to May and it's going to be sold, we'll reach out to their mortgage company to find out what the situation is.
Any other questions? Joe?
Yeah, I just like to get this simplified for me. A person that's in a tax problem and enters into a payment plan.
Right.
Now,
Right.
if they default on that plan, are they any better or worse off than they were before they adopted the plan?
Eventually, it depends on at what stage do they default. If they've made a good faith effort and they put down a deposit and they are making regularly monthly payments, but say 6 months down the road, they stop making payments. We get back in touch with them and try to find out what the situation is. Maybe the monthly payment that we've set up is too big because of their economic situation, so we'll reduce it. We'll work with them as to what their situation is. But if they just are stopping payment because they've decided they're not paying any longer, and then we have to then work towards collecting it through a debt collector.
But the only thing I want to know is, would they be better off or worse off than they were originally?
Well,
Or would it be the same?
They'll owe less because they started making payment and they put down a deposit. But if they default with us, we have to turn it over to a collection agency. And then they will be worse off than they were with us because the collection agency charges much higher interest and includes other fees in the terms of their payment plan.
Okay.
They're much better off working with the city.
So if they don't go with you originally,
Right.
then they would be subjected to a collection agency.
If they don't come to us from now until May 7th, then it's going to be sold to Expand. And then they're going to be subject to whatever terms and conditions that Expand sets up. Higher interest rates, a percentage of all the fees that Expand has to share with all the people on that list, because they're going to charge for the advertising in the newspapers, for everything that they have done to secure these liens. And it's much better to work with the city.
Okay, thank you.
Cleveland.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Because I think there was some confusion that if the lien holder, the company that's looking to purchase the lien, I know there's a surcharge that can go up as high as 18% in terms of the increase on the debt that's the constituent owes. My question is not regarding that. It's regarding the administrative hearing process. Because one thing that I think that the Department of Finance doesn't clearly lay out, for example, if someone does enter into a payment plan, clearly it's always better to do that.
Right.
But you made a statement that I think needs to be explored a little more, which is that there can be modifications if they find out that the payment plan that they originally agreed to is too burdensome.
Yes.
Now that is a part, and I've been working in city government for a while, that even I was not aware of in terms of A, what is the time frame of getting an administrative hearing if a constituent says that they made an arrangement, but now it's now burdensome? And then secondly, the timing of the hearing, and secondly, once the hearing occurs, what's the time frame of hearing back from the Department of Finance or that administrative judge about the resolution? Because if they can't make the original payment plan, then obviously they're technically in default, and then therefore they're not able to pursue getting an additional plan until there's some type of resolution. And I think that's the one area that Department of Finance really doesn't clearly lay out. And I know sometimes if you work with your elected officials, depending upon how much money a resident has put down in terms of the payment towards the arrears, sometimes we're able to work cooperatively with the Department of Finance to help put that in abeyance. I've seen that done, but could you speak a little bit about that other aspect?
To tell you the truth, I don't know of the time frame. I'll have to find out. But I do know that once the May 7th deadline has come and the liens are sold, the people who have worked on payment plans with the city and find themselves in jeopardy of defaulting on our payment plan, we contact them within days, and we're on the phone with them. They can come in. They can come into our payment, any of the business centers, and they can speak with someone there. My understanding is that it happens almost immediately. That we don't wait on this because we do know the situation. But I'll find out if we have a larger time frame, if people have had to wait. I know a lot of taxpayers like to go to their elected officials, and one reason is you sort of act as a buffer between them and us. And when you're finding yourself in a situation where your home, you feel you're not sure, you think maybe your home is going to be sold, it's easier to go to you and say, well, you go to them and talk to them for me because I'm a little nervous about it. And that's understandable. But try to tell them to come to us because we need to get all the facts. We need to sit down with them and find out exactly what their economic situation is and see what they can afford. We don't want to set up a payment plan that they're going to default on later on. We want to actually see, can you afford this amount every month?
Right, but if I might add, though, let me just first say that your centers, especially the one on John Street, I think is phenomenal because you have everything, right there. But just recognize, though, that, when a constituent receives that notification, there's already an immediate level of anxiety.
Yeah.
And they're willing, sometimes without thinking properly, to really pretty much agree to any type of arrangement via the phone because in their mind that stops that process right then and there.
Right.
But it doesn't. And, since you mentioned about if an agreement is made, if there's some difficulty, that can be changed, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think many people know that. And I know that there's an administrative person there at that John Street location.
Yes.
But I'm not sure, although you can get a ticket number and see them, what's the time frame of A, seeing him or her, B, getting a resolution from the Department of Finance back to that homeowner. The other aspect happens within days. If you go there in person, you pay by check, you pay by money order, it's accredited to your account right away. But the other part I think is a little unclear, and perhaps when you have an opportunity, if you could kind of communicate that back to the Borough President's office, I think that would be helpful for us to know.
I'll check on that.
John Morano.
Good morning. At the point, right here, at the point,
I have my glasses on.
at the point when the city sells off the lien to the expand company, is that the only company that you use?
The only company. Some years ago we used two. We did Expand and J.E. Roberts, but J.E. Roberts was connected with Merrill Lynch, and we couldn't use it any longer.
Okay.
So now we just use Expand.
All right, so at the point that it's sold off, because now the city has their money,
Yes.
right? And knowingly the city knows that the taxpayer is going to be held up with a bigger amount of money now, even with
It's true because
their
now
charges,
now
right?
they have to pay the current taxes that we're still sending to them,
Right.
plus whatever
The interests and penalties.
whatever agreement they've made with Expand.
Right, so now does the city follow up on the company, Expand, to make sure in good faith that they are contacting these people, these taxpayers? Because, I mean, it is...
I know that Arlene, Ombudsman, is in constant contact with Expand. We haven't had, some of the questions that came up today were new to me. I don't know of these instances where once it was sold, the taxpayer wasn't given a fair deal, wasn't treated correctly. We tried to do that, and we use Expand because they've shown to be that kind of company as well.
And you haven't had any complaints about from
really
the taxpayers?
We really haven't, but I'm going to check into it, and I'm going to check into the problems that I've heard today.
Because what's happening is, I mean, you're selling off the lien, so the city gets their money up front,
Right.
and these taxpayers are being, penalized
Well, they are.
in a higher percentage now because they would expand and they're putting themselves in a bigger hole.
They definitely are. That's the truth. That's why we try all this time to get them to come to us, because we don't want that to happen. But if they don't come to us, if we can't reach them by phone or by mail or by email or by any reason, by the newspaper, we really don't have a choice. The law says we have to sell the lien.
Because some people, the older people, the sick people,
The older people and sick people, they're pulled.
Right.
The moment that we recognize them as being over 65,
Right.
if they've ever applied for a disability, anything, they're pulled. If they're in the military, they're pulled. We take as many off immediately as we can. We don't know homeowners have turned 65.
Right.
They don't contact us to tell us my birthday.
My birthday.
So we have to go in, and we make calls, and we look into, like I was saying, old applications where they may have applied for the basic star exemption, and they list their birthday on there. So we can do the math, and we pull them off. We do a lot of work going from 25,000 down to 4.
So don't you think we
It's a
should
full-time job.
expand to using other companies also? Not just expand?
Well, I'll tell our commissioner. It really wasn't. I'm not sure how that decision was made.
It's almost monopolized that expand has this.
This time of year we get a lot of phone calls from very odd people who want to buy the liens. Just individuals off the street. Can I buy the lien? Because there's a good chance that they can then get the house. And we don't. We don't allow anything other than this one company that we found to be reputable to handle the liens.
Only because, what they brought up earlier about the two situations that they have, that maybe this company is not really reaching out to these people.
I'm going to check into it, and I'll report back to the borough president to see what kind of complaints we've had and what their process is, to get a better look at that for you.
Frank?
Your organization helps us to identify the problems in our neighborhoods. Tax liens and mortgages and problems of paying the debt is very important to us. So I would open the door of the community board to have you come to my community board with a listing of our entirety of our community board and invite the people who have problems so that you can have a
It's a great
dialogue.
idea. We can do
I
that.
think it's important during these tough economic times that we find a way of keeping people and sustaining people in their homes rather than taking them away. Another thing that would help us a great deal is a detailed analysis of where we stand this year as comparison to last year with tax liens. And I need information for my specific community board, and we need it for the Borough of the Bronx, so we can compare where we stand within the city of New York.
Okay.
And if if you can provide that to us, that would be a great help. Now,
We can provide you an outreach group to come to your community board, and we can provide you with all that numerical data you asked for.
Now, once again, it's important that we were able to have computers, equipment, and everything that's needed at that seminar that we will hold a workshop, so the persons can actually sit there with an agent and discuss how they can pay their tax liens and how they can sustain themselves in their homes.
I think we bring our own because it has our system in it, but also on March 4th at the Business Center, we're doing an outreach program there for 2 hours. So we can come to yours, but they can also come, any of the community boards can send their constituents on March 4th. And it's a one-on-one process where they sit down and talk to us, or they talk to DEP if they just owe water and sewer charges, and see what we can work out one-on-one.
Again, that's Community Board 9.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Arlene?
I don't have a question, more so of a comment. I'm Arlene McLaren with Councilman Capel's office. And Lori, we've done a lot of work together with very many constituents. Some of them are challenging situations and some are easier. And you've been very helpful and very responsive with us. And I also wanted to make the suggestion to some of my colleagues that you have actually sat on the, in correspondence with the constituent and us, the elected officials office, to facilitate answering their questions as they come up. And you've taken a lot of time to do so. So thank you, and I'm sure that you can also extend that service to all of the other people here.
Absolutely. Invite us, we're there. There's lots of us that will come out. Right now, our focus is to get as many people off of this list as humanly possible before May 7th. And we'll be happy to come out.
Thank you so much for your presentation. And we'll look forward to hearing from you on the issues that need to be addressed. The next item on the calendar is the vote on the budget priorities for 2011. We have a presentation by James Rouse, the Director of Budget and Housing for the Borough President's Office. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Ms. Green. Thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. Again, my name is James Rouse. I'm Director of Budget and Housing for Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. I'm here to present the budget priorities for fiscal year 2011. Pursuant to Section 241 of the City Charter, I forward for your consideration a comprehensive draft statement of the budget priorities for the Borough Board to review and vote upon for fiscal year 2011. The report is in response to the Mayor's preliminary financial plan as well as portions of the Governor New York State executive budget submitted. Mayor's preliminary financial plan submitted January 28th as well as portions of the Governor's executive budget. The Borough Board held a public hearing on February 9th where members of the public and representatives of the neighborhood organizations and institutions presented testimony. Everyone should have a copy of the budget priorities report. If not, we have additional copies up front. Someone can bring them to you. This document contains an analysis of selected agencies done by members of the Borough President's staff, a listing of capital budget recommendations from Borough President's staff, a summary of the public hearing held on February 9th of people who came up to speak, and the capital budget priorities, capital and expense budget priorities for all community boards. I am here with colleagues from the Borough President's Office to answer any questions, and this is an opportunity for any comments, additions, corrections that need to be made to the report so the Borough Board can vote upon it. Thank you.
Carmen?
Morning. I just want to make a very minor correction on page 60.
Carmen, you're going to have to talk into the mic.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I just want to make a minor correction on page 64 on community boards expense budget. It should read increase community boards budget to, as opposed to community board aid. It's on page 64.
Yes.
Thank you.
So just put in 12 or just
No,
community
just
board budget in
increase
general?
community boards to
Okay.
350,000. We were asking for all boards across all 52 boards.
Correction.
Yes, John.
Good morning, Madam Deputy. James, I just want to make note on page 43, I'm sorry for this echo. Page 43, it was capital priority number 5, it was capital priority number 5. It had ball fields 4, and it should be 4 and 5. Just add 5 to that.
Okay. I see where you're talking about. Thank you.
Fernando?
Hi, on page 47, priority number 1 for capital for Community Board 7. The address for the Bainbridge Avenue library should be 2556, not 3225.
Okay.
Please repeat that.
2556 for the old Fordham library. Oh, page 47, line 1.
Thank you. Ms. Green?
Jeff?
I just wanted to recommend that we add for ACS on page 12 and 13, that a line be mentioned about the potential 15 daycare centers that are stated to close. While none of them are in the Bronx, you know, if we decide to close 15 today, tomorrow it's 10 in the Bronx. So I think that there should be some mention of that in the recommendations.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Oh, Xavier.
Hi, James. I didn't see anything in terms of school crossing guards under police.
In the departmental analysis?
Yes.
Okay, we can add a comment about that. I can coordinate with Jess.
And the other thing is that I didn't see anything about increasing the redesign for the Grand Concourse in its entirety. I know there's a phase 2, but, you know, it's an opportunity.
Agreed. I think the thinking was just to, since there is an opportunity to do phase 2 of the Grand Concourse now, it's just to focus on what we can do in 2011. But we can add a line in there that states with the purpose of redoing the entire Grand Concourse.
Since you have a line already in terms of the Department of Transportation to increase their efforts aggressively for stimulus money, why not the Grand Concourse?
Okay. Just on the school crossing guards, is there anything specific that you saw in the mayor's budget that was going to decrease the amount, or just to increase the current levels?
There's never enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Marisol wants to respond to that.
Hi. The other issue with the crossing guards is that the police department tells us that there are vacancies that are not filled. And that was one of the reasons why there was a question as to whether to include it or not. The last time we met with the police department, they said there were 21 vacancies that were not filled. And my concern is that if they're not filled, they're going to be cut off. So we'll include something to account for that, but that's just one concern that we have.
Are there any other comments, questions? Are you saying yes?
I didn't see anything in terms of increased funding for hiring of minority firefighters.
Okay, that's noted. Okay. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Okay. Fernando?
Sorry about that. I just have one comment. I noticed that for community boards 1, 4, and 7, we all talk about waterfront redevelopment. And the notion of reclaiming the waterfront, especially along the Harlem River. Is there any other plans on the part of the borough president to address the waterfront issue?
James, I need you to come back to answer this. Sorry about that. I'm not sure that you heard the question, so could you repeat it?
I mentioned that community boards 1, 4, and 7 all included something about the waterfront as one of their top 10 capital requests. And I wanted to know if there's any specific plans on the part of the borough president to address the waterfront issue and access for community residents and to create contiguous waterfront access on the Harlem River.
Well, as you know, over previous years in the previous administration, there was a great push to create continuous waterfront along the Harlem River. There is interest of the current borough president, and we have discussed it internally about, doing step by step, trying to fund, different parks projects. There's Bridge Park, which is in the works. Mill Pond Park was just currently completed. What we see as the first phase of it, there's a portion of Mill Pond Park that has not been redeveloped as of yet, and we are speaking with the Parks Department about redeveloping that piece. Also, there's the Lower Grand Concourse rezoning, which would require any developer building along the waterfront to include at least an esplanade available to the public below between 138th and 149th Streets. And as issues arise farther north, there's just a lot of private property owners, which the borough president's office has been in discussion over the years. Continue to have conversations about including storage facilities north of Fordham Road, lumber. We are in constant conversation with those persons as projects are able to move forward just on the Parks Department's radar.
Okay, thank you again, James.
Thank you.
Okay, now for the vote, I need a motion. Somebody make a motion to accept the report with the amendments. Okay, seconded by Dr. Bola. And now for the vote, it will be a roll call vote. Start with, what happened to George? Okay. John? Gloria? Jose? Dr. Bola? Iveen? Paul? Frank? John?
Yes.
Carmen? Joe? Okay. And Diana? Arlene? Cleveland? Yes. Jennifer? Jesus?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes. Now, when is our march?
Excuse me?
Yes. Now, when is our march to get these things done?
And Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, the vote is unanimous. I want to thank you all for your participation this morning, and this concludes our meeting for this month. Thank you all.